All right, welcome back to the seventh episode of Bullpen Talk. I'm here with my co-host Leo Delianis and our guest Jarrell Pope. Jarrell has a really cool story. Started at Old Dominion University as a regular student, decided to go to JMU where he was on the scout team for the basketball team. Then he was eventually called up to be a player. So welcome to the pod, Jarrell.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. So, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, your story, do you want to tell like the audience about, how you got to that role of being, a player, getting to play in March Madness, and then once you graduated, you were able to be a grad assistant. So just tell everyone that, has ambitions, walk on a team and things like that, like what you did to separate yourself, from the normal kid.
Yeah, I would say it really started in high school when I was at PA, got all state that year. Um, wasn't getting recruitment. Everybody was getting an extra year of COVID. So that kind of like took a twist on things. ODU had actually gave me a full ride for an honor scholarship. So I took that for a year, stay at home. Then I was like, I want to branch out, go to JMU, become a better man. And then took that leap, betted on myself, went out there, went practicing on the scout team. Then eventually, end of the season, they was like, we love to have you next year," and called me up and was like, all from there. We ended up making March Madness that next year. Lost three games regular season, then lost to Duke in the second round after beating Wisconsin first round. Um, then played another season, got regular season championship with a new staff. And then eventually they called me back, was like, "We'd love to have you as a grad assistant. You were with JMU for a while. You can show everybody what it's like to have the JMU culture, and you've been a hard worker, so we respect that." And that was part of my journey right there.
What led you to actually decide to transfer to JMU? Was it just wanting to branch out, or what made you leave ODU?
I saw JMU had a lot of stuff going on regarding sports. It was a good atmosphere, and I was like, I kind of was having FOMO at home just watching all that, and was like, I still got what it takes to be a part of that. I still had abilities. I still could play. So I was kind of working out when I was at ODU playing ball, doing my thing in pickup. So I was like, I could still play, and then ended up going JMU. They didn't have no roster spots that year. I got there kind of late. So and then the next year, I was called up on the scout team. I was doing my thing, playing 110% in practice, even though I didn't know what the future looked like, and then ended up being blessed with that spot.
Yeah, and I'll say this is like we grew up with you, and I remember you walked into our house, and I think Leo was there too, and you said, "I'm gonna go walk on JMU," and we all just looked at each other, and we thought you were joking around because like you were just a regular student. We knew that you were a phenomenal high school basketball player, but I mean, you proved us wrong. You did that time and time again because you went from ODU to being a normal student to scout team to being a player, and then you got time because I remember I was down in Pensacola for a baseball tournament when you had your Sun Belt Conference championship, and they put you in the game. So yet alone, like you had the ability to play in these games. Like you weren't just there to say, "Hey, I'm a walk on." Like I'm just gonna be like practice player. You actually got to play. So do you want to like talk about that experience of like those 2 years of saying, okay, I'm at ODU, but now like I'm sitting, at the free throw line in the Sun Belt Conference Championship 2 years later. Like, was that like a surreal moment for you? Like, how did that, make you feel in that
Uh,
moment?
I would say at first, like eventually, like getting the spot, earning the spot was like a dream come true. But after getting that spot, it's like, what's next? Like the moment is here. So I'm like, all right, I got to put in work. Like I want to see what this, like what they say, the sky's the limit. Like I wanted to see what was all the way at the moon. So I was like, let me put in the best work, see what I can reach, and eventually got in that championship game. So that was like looking back at it, I was like, yeah, that's what I worked hard for. That's what I live for. And then ended up, later down the line, I could tell my later kids and generations after that, like I was a part of something special and I worked hard for it. So that was one thing I'm grateful for.
You talked about how when JMU called you after you graduated, they talked to you about the culture that they want to set at JMU. Can you
Yeah.
kind of speak to us and the viewers about what that culture is and what you tried to make that next generation of JMU athletes understand?
Yeah, I feel like I was a positive aspect to bringing that championship DNA around. Even though I wasn't like a high volume player or nothing, it was like I still saw what it took. I saw what the guys that were in front of me, the guys that were better than me, what they put in. So I was able to translate that over to the other guys for them to try and have a better career than what the teams I was on had. I was familiar with the area, I could showcase it like basically like you're a five-star recruit. I could showcase it like JMU's for five-star people, even though that wasn't the caliber of people they were getting. Um, I feel like I just had a touch of the culture in Harrisonburg and the area where it's like they wanted me to sprinkle on everybody that came through.
Yeah, and to kind of go off that as well is, I mean, there was countless articles and newspapers written about you, about the
Mhm.
different things you did. And one of them being was like there was a video I remember seeing on the social media about how somebody talked about this is the glue guy and this is the type of walk-on player that builds a program.
Yeah.
And like you kind of mentioned it already, the idea of, showing up for, showing up, like putting yourself out there to make sure that the people around you are getting better.
Yeah.
But like what did you do and did you see results when you're like, okay, I'm a bench guy, I'm a walk on, I know I'm not going to get all the minutes in the world, but when
Yeah.
I get my chance and when I get to play in practice, like how did you carry yourself that way to make everyone around you better and essentially like play into that role of like, I have something to prove, but at the same time I need to make the guys that I know that are better than me better.
Yeah, I always looked at it as if the top guys win, then I'm winning. So like basically they glory get all the glory and shine. It's like that ends up pouring down to me. Like they say you're only as good as your worst player. So I was at the bottom of the totem pole, but I was receiving all the shine because the guys I was pushing in practice, the guys I was connecting with off the court was like becoming the best version of themselves. And that end up letting me get a little bit of shine later down the line. I feel like I always gave 110%, like whether it was in the weight room, classroom, or anything that I applied myself to, and that showed just my work ethic. And I was like, actions speak louder than words, so I always put like my head down and put the grind forward.
You spoke about how when that new staff came in your second year at JMU and being that glue guy, can you talk to us about like how it was really trying to make sure that team culture was together and y'all were there as a team?
Yeah, when the new staff came in, it was crazy. I was the one actually hosting the visits, hosting recruits, like getting dinner with them, maybe driving around the city, just spend time with them and talk to them. Like, yeah, what last year did, like went to March Madness, all that. But this place is special. Like, regardless, it's going to be a winning culture and winning DNA here. So I was like, just reflecting on things that was in the past, but showing that this can still happen in the future and it will happen in the future at JMU because they want the best for the people there. They want the best for the athletics. They want the best for just the whole community as a whole to win. And that's where I felt like I had a small hand in there where it was like I could do whatever it took. And I stayed an extra year as a graduate assistant just to, you know, give that culture back. I worked hard for it. So I was like giving it back to the team and the community.
And I want to
Being
ask
the
you
guy
this.
who
Go ahead, Leo, you're good.
being being one of those guys who was there with all the recruits, what would be like your 30-second elevator pitch to anyone out there who's thinking about JMU or a recruit who's looking at it as one of the schools?
Yeah, I would say I didn't really have to say much words. Like, my go-to phrase was like, "Man, just look at this. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is you may not have ACC, SEC schools, but like this is a Power Five environment, and like you thrive here, you can go anywhere you want from here. Like you be successful here, you're gonna go to where you want to end up at later down the line. So just bet on yourself here, put the pride aside, and just put your head down and work, and you're gonna get to the milestones you want to reach."
And I want to go off a comment Leo talked about was like the new coaching staff, a new team, because of the
Mhm.
new, state of college athletics, you get the whole idea of you have a player that comes in for a year and transfers out,
Yep.
and you're a part of a team that made a phenomenal run, won the Sun Belt Conference, won a round in March Madness, and then
Hmm.
obviously lost to I believe it was Duke
Yep.
eventually. But then the year after that, when the whole new coaching staff came in, you guys didn't do as well. You didn't win the Sun Belt, and you ultimately did not make the tournament. So I want to hear your opinion on, the whole idea of the transfer portal NIL, because you were a player. Some of your friends definitely got paid to go play at
Yeah.
more well-known schools. Like, what do you see like from your perspective of being a player and watching your teammates go and succeed at other places?
Yeah. Regarding NIL, I think players should always get paid to play. I mean, they put in the work in, day out. If they're not getting money off of their name, somebody else is getting money off of them. So it's like, um, they should always earn the money. There should be a way in place where it's a cap on the money while also helping the players like manage their money better. So it's just not blown during their college years. It's around for years after college, maybe so they don't have to work a job or anything after they go pro, that they can have a saving, earn interest on that money, and thrive from there. But there should be a cap on money regarding NIL in the basketball atmosphere.
Talking a little bit more about that transfer portal and eligibility, what are your thoughts on the proposed 5 for 5? 5 years, you have 5 years to play college athletics after you graduate high school or
Mhm.
turn 19, whichever comes first.
Uh, I'm a fan of it. I've seen 26-year-olds, 27-year-olds in the NCAA, so I'm like, it's not even basketball no more. It's like this is getting chaotic. Like high schoolers are working their life, like whole life since they're 3, 4, 5, trying to reach their dreams and aspirations to, go to the NBA. But it's hard to even get on a college roster, college team. So I think the 5 and 5 is good once you're in college playing. But them kids in high school, you're gonna have to go, like in Virginia Beach, you're gonna have to go to them private schools. You're gonna have to leave that public school setting because it's just going to be hard to get recruited out of there. And also, public schools in some certain areas aren't respected as the private schools just because of the scheduling and the type of conferences they play in.
That's really interesting. I mean, you'll see it in college baseball as well, where you'll see schools say, "Hey, go play JUCO ball for 2 years, and we'll give you another look." And then they
Yeah,
come into college baseball. They could be a freshman or they can choose to be a junior, like depending on what you want to do. But I
yeah,
think the new rules, like you said, gives people, the same opportunity they had years ago to go and compete and have a shot of playing, the sport they love at the college level and not have to settle. I mean, obviously in your position, you had COVID. You didn't even play basketball, at Old Dominion. Like you were just there
yeah.
as a regular student, but you bet on yourself. You did well. You went to JMU. So I kind of want to pivot the conversation a little bit from the whole idea of, sport, but rather to your career path. So obviously
Mhm.
you're working in Nova right now, Northern Virginia
Mhm.
at a firm, and you want to do you want to talk about like your recruiting process? Did you have like a mentor or someone to help you along the way to get like the job like where you're at now? Or like did you wish you had a mentor or a system set in place that like JMU say had a mentor network where they connected you with like someone that works at a banking firm, a law firm or something like that you would
Yeah.
have access to, your junior year?
Yeah, I mean, going back to that, I feel as athletes, you're kind of making more connections within that atmosphere compared to regular students. Regular students kind of got to go out their way, speak to the top guys, but athletes, they're getting more accessible to like the top teachers, the top counselors, you got your advisors and stuff. So going with job recruiting, I feel like I was able to be comfortable with doing it myself as I knew my abilities, while I knew my interests and where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. As my last year when I did graduate assistant, I did it in cyber intelligence certification. So now I'm doing cyber tech sales in Northern Virginia right now. So I just knew what I was strong in. I know that eventually later down the line, I want to be like eventually a CEO or entrepreneur. So I feel like the cyber route was the one to go. You got AI, you got technology evolving. So I feel like that was the piece that I wanted to be in.
Yeah,
What made you go that route when you were choosing a grad program?
Yeah, so crazy. I did cybersecurity at ODU, and I had a 4.0 at ODU, and the whole whole academics was paid for there because I was in the honors college with that. Then I got to JMU. The curriculum was a little different at ODU. Cybersecurity was in the School of Cybersecurity. JMU cybersecurity or computer information systems was in College of Business. So you got to branch out, take extra classes that weren't cybersecurity, like your economics, your finance, and stuff like that, which ain't bad. But
Mhm.
JMU's business school is real prestigious, and that was also like kind of challenging while doing athletics. So I also had a connection where I was like the face-to-face talk, branch out to others. So I did education and history, where I got to be like face-to-face communicating with students, having an impact on their lives, giving back. So I did some student teaching there and found joy in that. And I did education there. Then I was like, education is a cap on the money. So I was like, let me go ahead and get a backup in cybersecurity just for future plans and bigger ideas.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And like you kind of said, like you were talking about, the way you did it was a way that, many college athletes, I guarantee you that you played with didn't do that. They wait to their senior year, don't really take, their college classes seriously, and they're left with no job. So like have you seen any see any cases like that? Like how did you promote that as like a grad assistant like to the seniors like hey, it doesn't seem like you might be playing you're not going to play professional basketball.
Yeah.
I want to help you out with like finding a job. Like what did you do or what did you see that like
Mhm.
teams do to make sure that these seniors, are ready to go and work and possibly have a job lined up, come the fall of their, next season.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's hard to have that talk with like basketball athletes because they don't want that ball to stop bouncing when it comes. They want to keep bounce the ball to keep bouncing, go pro, go play overseas, see what that experience is. But some may not have the stats to go overseas where they want to go. They might want to go to the Euro leagues or in France, but they might got to take a year and go to like Nicaragua or something and barely make money with bad living. So that's a challenging step. But if you can make it out there as a man and push through that, then that's a real learning experience. But you just gotta look yourself in the eye and be like, can I still play, or is there a bigger picture that's not basketball? And I feel like I was able to talk to some of my teammates and friends and be like, yeah, like what's your plans after this? Like in the season, you're always asking what you're gonna do next year. Like out of eligibility, you want to go pro or you want to work a job, your family got something lined up for you. 9 times out of 10, this job world is all connections. Regardless if you got the certifications and experience, if you got somebody connected in the field, they will help you and look out for you in that job. And that's where JMU was real good at. They had donors where it's like, you need a job after playing basketball, I got you. Or you got alumni where it's like, they'll hook you up with a job. Just reach out, and they will love to hear from you just because of your presence in the area and presence at what you do. So I feel like the connection's always there for a job.
And I think it was interesting you brought up like the resources that your university has.
Hmm.
And on our last podcast, we had somebody that was a former football player that ended up being a sports analyst
Hmm.
for Sumer Sports, and he kind of talked about the idea that a lot of these universities have these resources set in place, but
Yeah.
players are not really pushed by their coaches or the administration to say, "Hey, go use these resources." It seems
Yeah.
like you did a really good job of doing that, realizing, "Hey, I'm a JMU. I'm part of like the basketball team. Your year, you guys were phenomenal. So I guarantee you, donors were aware of who's on the team, the players as they want to be involved. And you said,
Hmm.
"Hey, I'm going to go and reach out to people and look out for myself." Like you said, you realize, "Hey, I'm not going to go play professional basketball. Let me
Yeah.
go use my network and resources now." And hats off to
Exactly.
you. That's awesome. And so to put that aside, now we can bring it back to sport. So do you
Yep.
want to talk about the whole idea of like what it was like your day, like walking on the team? So like not when you're on the team, but like your tryouts and getting that call up and the emotion you felt during that time.
Yeah. So it was actually I made my first impression when I got to the tryout. It was like, yeah, this kid is very good. And then I was, doing assists, not trying to score all the buckets, but guard up, play some defense, make the right plays, make some dimes. I had a little flash to my game, so I was like, I wanted to show that a little bit, all aspects. From there, I was like 2 weeks after. They were having practice, but they needed a point guard on the scout team. And then so they gave me a chance. I was playing defense, picking up 94 feet, got all conference guards that I'm guarding. I'm like talking my stuff, excuse my language when I'm out there, but I was trying to get myself fired up and then get the point guard fired up. And it was improving him. Teams start winning and they're like, all right, you got a spot on the scout team. And then from there, I was just I wasn't satisfied. I was just being myself. I was trying to earn that spot. So I'm out there trying to guard. I couldn't really do all that I wanted to do because you were in like a scout system where they wanted a certain look. But I did what I could do to the best of my ability. And that's what when you're playing basketball, you can always play good defense. So if you play defense hard, that's gonna make you stand out. And then I was able to facilitate the ball. On the scout team, we were real good. I had a GA that was a D2 All-American, where he was a straight bucket getter, getting buckets on our March Madness team. And then they took a walk-on with him to Vandy, and he could shoot from half court to the 3-point line. So I had shooters around me, and we just had a 1 through 5 on the scout team, and we were going. Once we were going, everybody was going. So that's where the energy thrived off of.
That's
What was
awesome.
that mindset going into the scout team and trying to like make sure these guys are better, but
Yeah.
also make sure these coaches see you as I can do this too?
Yeah, we were basically like, yeah, let's kill them today. Like, we're gonna get us a win. We're gonna lock them up. They're not gonna score on us. Let's get buckets. Let's attack all the starters. Let's attack the bench guys. Let them hear it. Let them know we're cooking them. And then that'll get them fired up, start playing harder. It wasn't always, flowers and sunshine. It was some battles some days where they get mad, be ready to fight. So that was one thing. It was actually crazy. I look back at it, and the year we went to March Madness, the scout team, we were popping them. The first game against Michigan, the first game when we played Michigan State, we actually popped the whole team and was blowing them out, but ended up beating Michigan State when they were ranked top 4 in the country. So we were like, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, I bet that was like unreal. You want to
Yeah.
walk us through that, that game and that atmosphere of like
Yeah.
walking in there and beating like the fourth ranked Michigan State?
Yeah, so first of all, that arena is crazy. They're really right on you. It's loud. Tom Izzo's coming out. It's getting riled up. First game, you got AJ Hogar ready to kill. You got what's his name? Tyson Walker. I think it was Tyson Walker. The guard they had a guard averaging like 20 points. And he was just like you knew he was gonna have a day. So and then we started getting on a roll. Our team start popping it, firing the guns in the air when we hit a three, all that. And then next thing you know, we got one of our boys named Big Shot Ray hit a three at the end of the game, letting them know. And then we won from there. And then after that, social media blowing up, phone blowing up. I'm getting texts from who knows who. It's just like amazing. Like the whole America ranking us top 25. Our player getting AP Player of the Week. So it was like crazy.
What was your favorite moment from those 2 years at JMU and your experience with the team?
My favorite moment, crazy to say, had to be we had college game day that year. That was a good moment. My favorite moment was being at Barclay. Like we were getting police escorts through Times Square, New York. Um, we were staying with the Italian soccer team, so we were at a crazy like 5-star hotel, tunnel, people taking pictures, walking through like a red carpet to the bus and stuff. Then we just was living in the city. We were like, we're here, and it was all history. Like Barclay Center, if you know the Barclay Center, the bus is going down an elevator. It doesn't go down a ramp. It just sits on the elevator, go down. We're coming out, media's in our face, and the Barclay was just sold out with JMU people, and it was just a crazy feeling. Like if I could experience that again, I would.
And you were part of the team culture. And me and Leo were talking about this before we got on this interview with you. Was they called you the half court shot man or something? You had like
Yeah.
a routine where you would, throw up half court shots, get the boys fired up. Do you want to talk to us about like where that originated from and what made you come to do that for the team?
Yeah, so we always had like some trick shots we were shooting in the practice. I would shoot from the scoreboard. We would shoot sitting on a seat. So I was just chucking stuff up one day, and then next thing you know, they trying to get me to dunk the ball and stuff. So my thing was the half court shot. Like if I make the shot that day, we won the game. If I didn't make it or didn't shoot it, we lost. And crazy saying, like you get like an hour on the court sometimes, like pregame for practice, and some days like you got to put the ball up. Like at March Madness, you got to put the ball up, so you can't get the half court shot. So that Duke game, I didn't get I shot one, but it didn't go in. And we had to rush it. So I ain't make it that Duke game. And then there was another game we had lost twice to App State. I ain't shoot them that game because we had to be out the gym. But the games I shot it, we was making it, and we would just come back and win. I don't know what was happening. It was the basketball guys, but we were winning off of them half court shots. So the coaches were like, "Yeah, shoot this shot before you leave. Like we got it, you got to make it, or we're not leaving."
That's awesome.
I got to ask you about the TBT, the basketball tournament.
Yeah.
You were a part of the Dukes team, and I know I got to Syracuse guy. You got the Bayheim Army team. What was that experience like? What, playing and dealing with that whole massive tournament?
Yeah, it was a good experience. It was at JMU, so the arena was kind of big. I wish we played at like Wichita State where they packed that one out. They always went into TBT. It was a good experience. Um, there was guys you would see, but it was crazy the timing. Like there was guys still playing like overseas and pro. Like Maryland had Melo Trimble, who was an All-American. He
Mhm.
didn't play because of pro stuff. Marshall's team didn't have John Elmore because he was playing in the NBA Summer League. So we missed out on like playing those guys, but it was ultimately a good experience playing that. You always get to watch the TBT, $1 million, everybody cashing in that money on TV on ESPN, but it was just surreal being a part of that, playing in that. So that was a fun experience.
Yeah, and like I know we kind of we already asked you this, but you put the time and effort from ODU to JMU. You're looking up, you're in Barclays Center. What was like when did you realize like I've made it? This was my dream come true.
Uh,
Like honestly, like, excuse my language, F these kids that were laughing at me at our house
yeah,
when you told me that you were gonna go and play college basketball at JMU.
yeah,
Um, but obviously we were just joking with you because we were friends. But
yeah.
like what was that moment when you were sitting there and you're like, you know, F these kids. I'm here. Like this is what, I told myself this, I got myself this, and I made myself this. Like when do you have that realization?
Uh, I would say the first game I played in, got in, actually scored that game. I'm getting a chant, like standing ovation, like we want Pope. He wants to go. We want him to go in. We want to see him. Like they know the backstory. They know all that went into it. So every time they was like, we want Pope. And then that moment when I got in, it was like a dream come true. And I was like, yeah, I'm here. Like, shoot. I know I'm not gonna play NBA. I know I'm not gonna play pro. Like basketball was a hobby and all, but I'm no like realistic. Like this was just temporary, but it was supposed to be fun, a good experience that I worked hard for. So I say that moment that I got in that game and everybody cheered and the crowd went crazy. I feel like that was the I made you moment. And it was just all from there because I was able to get in some games that season, got in double digit games that season. So it was after that first game, I was like, all right, that's a dream, but I'm here. Like I'm here to play ball. I'm not here to be no dream fantasizer. So
For that first game, when you got the bucket,
mm.
you've talked kind of about that brotherhood you had with all those guys. What was that like being able to come off and having your teammates cheer for you and just that energy?
Yeah, it was electric. Like whole bench jumping up, family. my family made the ride to that game, so they got their phone out. I'm like, all right, y'all can put the phone down, like, like it's me, like I'm just here for fun, like I'm trying to hoop, I'm trying to get buckets, like y'all done seen so many buckets in high school, so I'm like, y'all can put your phone down. This just good times now. But no, the team was jumping up. I come off the court for the start, for the handshakes at the end of the game. They all grabbing my jersey, pushing me in a little tunnel. I'm throwing water on me, so I'm like, all right, yeah. This is a brotherhood. Like we all ended up after that game, you're like going out, get drinks, celebrating. They all just like hyping me up. Like it was crazy. That was a brotherhood moment. Like we all just hung out as a pack that year. It was like if you're not hanging out with us, then where are you at? Like come hang out with us. Like we having good vibes. So
And then do you have any advice to, a kid that's in the same position that you were, on the border of going to play, a college sport, whether
mm,
that's at a D1, D2, or D3 school, and then just going to college, like what is your advice to that kid that's, under recruited, overlooked? Like what would you say to him to motivate him to get him to that spot that you were in, going like walking down the New York streets in March Madness, upsets Michigan State. That's just like just speaking that out loud, bro.
yeah.
It's just like an unreal like event that like happened to you, dude, and you made that happen. So like, what is your advice to these kids that are in a similar position that you were in? That you're like, hey, man, like this is what you got to do. Believe in yourself, or something like that. Just something
Yeah,
motivational. Yeah.
I try not to be like I try to be humble about it with my journey. I would just be like, just just put all you can, like put all the work that you can in now. Like so when you look back, you don't have any regrets. Like if you give something your all right now, it's like you did all that you could. But if you're halfway in, going 50% through life in general, like you're not gonna know what life will look like if you ended up putting your all in, going 100%. Like you can look back and be like, dang, I could have gave a better version of myself. And now I'm here. Like I have no options. I either can go JUCO or I can go to school, be a frat boy and stuff like that. But if you just put your head down, give it all you got, doors will open up. There will be connections made. Um, just endless of stuff if you put in your best work in. Like it's nothing going wrong when you do that.
Yeah, man, that's unreal. I mean, you just had a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
And as we've been joking around this, like joking about this whole podcast, is like, I've got to see it firsthand. I know Leo's got to see it firsthand, man. And it was an incredible journey. Obviously, you're working now, but I mean, I remember sitting in my dorm room freshman year and seeing Jarrell Pope on the bench against Michigan State,
Yeah.
in that corner, bro, cheering on the guys. And I was like, I was messing with that guy saying he wouldn't be there, but now they're beating Michigan State, So I
Yeah.
mean, look, dude, hats off to you, bro. You killed it,
Yeah.
man, and we really enjoyed you on this podcast. And if you have any final words or like any words of advice you want to give to people, feel free to say them now.
Um, I'll say y'all go tap in the bullpen talk. Like y'all might not respect it now. Might they up and coming professional business. Like one day they're gonna blow up and grow, and it's gonna be like, yeah, I should have talked to them while they were down, so I can have that connection with them. Maybe when they blow up, you might not be able to reach them. So the bullpen talk is the way to go. They're up and coming in professional business. So go like and subscribe on Twitch, YouTube, Spotify, and all social platforms.
Thanks, Jarrell. And
Thank you.
we really appreciate you being on this podcast, man. It was awesome. And it's always fun having, a kid we grew up with and had a lot of success, man. And we want to say from Bullpen Talk, appreciate it. We're proud of you, man. And you had a heck of a journey.
Yep. Appreciate y'all having
Thanks
me.
for jumping on, Drill.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.